यूपीआई सेफ है, मगर कोई ऐसे बेवकूफ बनाए तो कहो मैं मूर्ख नहीं हूं।
This is TV18 and you're watching CNBC-TV18.
Hello and welcome to the Startup Street Special. I'm Shruti Mishra and with me from the Bangalore studio is Ritu Singh.
Hi Shruti. Now Kotak Mahindra Bank has recently launched the Kotak BizLabs Accelerator program, which is an initiative under its CSR effort, which is aimed at empowering early revenue stage startups. Now it is designed to help startups overcome some of the growth challenges they face and scale their business effectively. Through this, Kotak hopes to support about 1,000 startups via a community engagement program in collaboration with incubators such as IIMA Ventures, IIMA Bangalore Startup Incubator, NSRCEL and T-Hub.
And there's more. This initiative will offer networking opportunities, access to a virtual knowledge center, and a series of hybrid workshops across Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Tamil Nadu. Additionally, about 50 high-potential startups will receive intensive acceleration support, including grants of up to 15 lakh rupees each for 30 selected startups, 30 and more. For more on this program and how it aims to support startups, we have with us a panel of special guests. First up is Rohit, Bhasin, the President Head Affluent NRI Business Banking and Chief Marketing Officer at Kotak Mahindra Bank, and Himanshu, Nivsarkar, Senior Executive Vice President and Head CSR and ESG, Kotak Mahindra Bank, are with us here in the Mumbai studio. Ritu.
Well, we also have Professor Srivardhini, chairperson of NSRCEL and Professor Entrepreneurship at IIM Bangalore joining in, as well as Chintan, Bakshi, who's partner incubation at IIMA with us virtually. Professor Srivardhini, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time here on CNBC-TV18. Rohit, I'll start with you in the Mumbai studio. What really prompted Kotak Mahindra Bank to launch this accelerator program? Was there a gap that you identified in the startup ecosystem, or, does it largely align with probably a different strategic direction that the bank is taking?
Thanks, Ritu, for the question. Let me give you a bit of a context of why this program is extremely important for us. The self-employed customer is a key segment that's really important for us. Our bank has actually been built on the bedrock of the segment, and while we have a 2% share in the overall banking space, we have about a 4% share with the self-employed customer.
Yes.
So that's really, it's a very core and important segment for us. The second thing is, if you look at the SME, MSME space, while they significantly contribute to the growth of the country, they contribute to the workforce in the country, but they're severely underrepresented when it comes to the credit that they cannot get. And therefore, changing that paradigm and getting more and more SME and MSME into the credit life cycle is a key important, growth objective for us. Specifically, when you come to the startups part of MSME, SME, which is where this program is really looking at. What we realize is that, and there are basically two types of startups. There are startups which are from 0 to 1, and then startups who've kind of built a bit of a proven business model, and they have to scale up from 1 to 100. And while a lot of startups start at 0 and become 1, the bigger challenge happens when they start to scale up to go from 1 to 100.
Absolutely.
And I think that is where we saw the real problem. And when you look at those, why do these startups are not able to scale up? The first is, in many cases, they don't get the right product market fit. They don't get the resources that they need, the professional resources who could come and help them scale up. Networking and mentorship is a key challenge. And finally, funding becomes a key challenge. So these are the four issues or 4 challenges that we wanted to really solve for, with which we have decided to launch the Kotak BizLabs program. Himanshu, and you can add to...
No, absolutely right. I think there's a study done in 2017 which identified that almost 90% plus of Indian accelerator actually failed to sustain for more than 5 years. And the reason for that was, as Rohit mentioned, one of this was mentorship, other was getting the right network connect. So the scale up is a big challenge, and I think this is where Kotak Accelerator program kind of helps.
Absolutely, and I also want to understand from you that how does Kotak BizLabs, this program, this accelerator program, really tie into Kotak's CSR and ESG commitments beyond sustainability and social impact? What are the broader themes or the outcomes that you're targeting with this program?
So, interesting question. So let me start with the ESG aspect of it. So in ESG, we are looking at it from a ecosystem development approach. So if you look at Kotak's program, we have a program which is focused on SME, which is with IIT Madras. And in turn, IIT Madras has tied up with almost 6 other IITs. And they have set up centers across India to do decarbonization efforts at SME sector. Okay. So that's one effort which is going on the sustainability part of it. The other is a large initiative which we started last year with IIT Kanpur, where we are setting up a Kotak School of Sustainability that is going to lead efforts on sustainability, pan-India basis, working on academics, working on research. So it's a huge effort going on there. Kotak BizLab Accelerator program fits in beautifully in that. We are looking at supporting companies in circular economy. We are looking at climate tech. So it is, in a sense, an extension of that activity, and it works very well from a ESG perspective.
Well, Rohit and Himanshu, you've given us a broad sense of how startups stand to benefit, and not just through grants, but tell us how you're going to leverage that Kotak brand by integrating them in the broader banking ecosystem as well.
Ritu, for us, CSR is not a charity that we do on the side. For us, CSR is deeply integrated into the heart of our business model. And as I was explaining that why SME and startups are extremely important, because this is the community that actually leads to growth in the country. And when these SMEs and startups grow, it leads to investments coming into these companies and therefore into the country. It leads to more employment opportunities being generated. The economy gains, the country gains, and when the economy and the country gains, every bank which is working in that ecosystem gains, because then we are able to lend more people join the banking space from a business perspective. They take more of our services. So that's how the whole ecosystem of our CSR finally helps drive growth in the economy and therefore drive growth for the bank. So that's the first point. Second point, how does the bank or how does the brand really run in this ecosystem? So we realized that the first thing that we can do is that how do you drive awareness of this program? Because if you do not drive awareness of this program, then not many people will come to know about the benefits of participating in this accelerator program and getting the benefits of the acceleration. So the first thing that we're doing is using the power of our brand, the power of our advertising, the power of our branches to really drive awareness of this program at a mass scale. Just the way you would drive awareness of any banking product, you're really trying to drive the awareness of this program at a mass scale.
Professor, at NRCEL, you specifically focus on social impact startups, among others. Now, based on your experience, what are the most pressing challenges that early revenue stage startups face? We had Rohit list some, but particularly around scaling and acquiring customers. And how do you see Kotak BizLabs address these challenges, this accelerator program?
See, I think startups, entrepreneurship in general is fraught with risks. Many startups fail, and that's the truth of it. But many startups fail despite showing early promise. In some sense, they sort of needlessly fail. So what we believe is that providing that input, the right kind of support at the right time, will actually sort of help them overcome that valley of death and go through that scale-up phase more smoothly. So we at NSRCEL, a large part of the work that we do is in fact around how can we help startups scale, right? So these are ventures that have shown some early market traction. They may have a few customers, they may have a little bit of revenue, but then how do we actually help them get to product market fit? That's really where we are coming at it from. So what we do is really sort of help these entrepreneurs rapidly iterate and arrive at a business model that can actually sustain them in the longer run. And then, of course, contribute to the society by way of job creation, GDP growth, and all of that stuff. And the way we do this is that, and we have been around for about 25 years now at NSRCEL. So we've developed deep expertise in how to do incubation. We have developed our own unique methodology. So we bring this together, and we have also created a very large repository of venture building knowledge. So we bring this all together and curate extremely well-designed programs. A lot of them are designed by IIMB faculty to actually help our ventures and our entrepreneurs get to product market fit.
Chintan, at IIMA Ventures, you've also been working with startups across stages. And there are various such accelerator programs we've seen incubators, we've seen funding support as well. What do you think makes this particular program unique in addressing the requirements of early revenue stage companies?
No, thanks. A very relevant question. In fact, one of the best aspects about the program is the fact that there is support available for entrepreneurs across the stages as they progress in the program, right? So while Rohit mentioned that there will be about some 10 or odd startups that will be provided financial support, but all through the program, there is going to be some sort of support, a lighter online support for about 50 to 60 startups which are able to cross the first sort of selection barrier. Then we'll also have pitches organized for the startups at 3 locations, in Indore, Ahmedabad, Jaipur. We'll also be getting the local angels, HNIs, etc., some of probably the customers of Kotak Mahindra, as Rohit talked about. And then there's going to be a boot camp at IIMA Ahmedabad, which will be like top of the line. So basically, if you see, that's really a very important element to support early stage entrepreneurs, that it's not a pure 0-1 selection process. It's not that either you're in or out. Even if you show some promise, there'll be online, support provided. You could probably apply in the next cycle, next year. Once you cross a certain stage, you get to pitch to investors, and a select few then go to IIMA for a very intensive boot camp, and a smaller shortlist out of that gets funding and portfolio support from the IIMA Ventures team. So it's almost like a funnel. And we are not we are kind of mindful of the fact that a lot of entrepreneurs have high potential. They may not have done enough validation. Therefore, they may not make a cut beyond a level, but we are not rejecting them. We are not taking a 0-1 kind of a approach. Basically a stage support, and it also helps us create a pipeline, let's say, for future iterations of the program. Yeah, so I think that's one element that I would like to flag.
All right, Chintan, picking up from what Chintan just mentioned, Himanshu.
If I may.
Yeah.
Some of the numbers, because I would like to clarify, because I think Chintan mentioned about IIMA Ventures. Overall, we are looking at 1,000 startups. Roughly about 30 plus will receive funding.
Yes. Take us through the selection criteria. What do you have in mind?
So I think the application we expect will be in large number. And we are hoping that 1,000 of them would be relevant applications. So when I say relevant application, it is essentially things like whether they have the DPIIT registration or not, whether they are in the sectors which we are looking to support. So that's the first level of filter, right? Once that filtering has been done, individually each of the incubators is going to look at the application and go through the details to figure out whether this is a startup that they intend to support, right? Which is either providing some unique value, some new sort of innovative program, something which gives a competitive edge, and whether they have the right set of people there with them or not.
Yes.
Once that is done, then you have an approach where IIMA and T-Hub will essentially do a pitch and select
from the 50 pool of 50 to make...
Not even the number that they may shortlist. So it may be a much larger number as well, who will come and pitch, but within that they may take 10 to 12 startups which they will fund. And then they will continue the incubation program for the balanced period. Whereas NSRCEL will select a slightly higher number, and they will run the program, and towards the end, they will do the grant funding. But each of the incubator would be doing a grant funding of about 15 lakh per company.
Rohit, while you both have spent plenty time sort of pitching why this accelerator program is important for startups, and you said the idea is to also get the word out there. So quickly, if you were to summarize for any startup watching out there, a specific example of what kind of difference this could make to their journey.
Well, as I said, Ritu, the biggest difference in kind of having an idea and scaling from 0 to 1 and then failing there versus actually becoming a successful company is what we really want to achieve. And our view really is all about democratizing success of startups. Rather than having one unicorn which comes out of this program, our view really is to make sure we can get 30 good companies which can scale up and be successful. That's really the way we kind of looking at this program.
And this is sector agnostic, this program?
It's based on certain sectors which are linked to our CSR initiative. And we can talk to you about which sectors are we going to fund. But it's based on the CSR definitions, the sectors which we are allowed to fund in the CSR, it's restricted to those sectors. But the larger point for me really is the fact that we've got 3 amazing partners, who have the expertise, apply to us, partner with us, and give us the opportunity to help you, in your journey to scaling up from, and give us the opportunity to help you, in your journey to scaling up from where you are to making you a successful company. That's really my pitch to any startup who's listening to us, who's hearing us, and it will be our honor to kind of support them, help them in their journey to make them very successful self-employed entrepreneurs.
All right, let me get sector specific and go across to Professor Srivardhini. What challenges are unique to startups in sectors like agri-tech and healthcare, for instance, and what targeted interventions will NSRCEL bring to overcome these?
Yeah, that's a great question. When we talk about agri-tech, health tech, climate tech, and broadly, let's even say sort of deep tech. A lot of these are deep tech, deep science startups, and they require a long runway to commercialization, right? So they need a safe space where they can actually experiment and find a business model, find a model that allows them to commercialize successfully, right? Now, a lot of the entrepreneurs who come from this type of background, they might have the technical know-how to a fair degree. But often at times what we have found is that the business knowledge, the ability to tweak the business model to find that product market fit is something that's often missing. We bring that to the table. Additionally, what also happens is as they go through this journey, they require very specific inputs in certain technical spaces. So what we have done is, in order to support that, we have partnered with experts in this space, right? These could be universities, these could be research institutions, industry bodies that bring a deep domain knowledge that will fill the gaps, the knowledge gaps that these entrepreneurs may have. The second thing is, of course, mentoring, which is an important pillar. So can we bring in mentors who can provide the expert advice that these entrepreneurs need? And again, mentors could be other entrepreneurs, they may be scientists, they may be industry leaders who have this domain knowledge, sectoral knowledge, which, if injected at the right time, can make a world of difference for the entrepreneurs, right? And finally, of course, access to patient capital, which is very important as companies go through this journey. And that's something that we are anyway doing through the grants, but we will also, using the NSRCEL network, we will be opening doors for these ventures to a large network of funding partners that we work with and see how we can help them further along that journey.
Well, all right. On that note, it's time for us to head into a short break. We continue with this conversation on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Mama must be missing us, nah?
Let's take you on, spin, give me one day. Feel the itch under my skin, it's a one day. You believe it when you see it being done, hey. It doesn't matter, just gotta get going.
New GT line, Taigun and Virtus. Volkswagen.
सर मुझे क्रिप्टो करके लाइफ बनानी है पर कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं है।
कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए?
हाँ।
कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए? Come on, you have to land it. कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए? कैप्टन, इन्होंने सीखा है इसलिए ये कॉन्फिडेंट है। अगर आपको क्रिप्टो में कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए तो क्रिप्टो सीखना होगा। CoinDCX, क्रिप्टो कोच, लर्न करो, क्रिप्टो करो।
सर आप स्माइल कर रहे हैं?
मैंने भी सीखा है।
Crypto products and NFTs are unregulated and can be highly risky. There may be no regulatory recourse for any loss from such transactions.
ਪਿਛਲੀ ਵਾਰ 8 ਘੰਟੇ ਵਾਲੀ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਚੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਕੱਟ ਲੱਗਿਆ? ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਿਆ। ਕੱਟ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਛੱਡੋ, ਬੱਲਬ ਨੇ ਝਮੱਕਾ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਾਰਨਾ, ਝਮੱਕਾ।
ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਵੀ ਬਿੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਂਦਾ। ਅਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਮਾਨ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ।
ਜੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਸੀਐਮ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਮਾਨ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਰੇਕ ਵਰਗ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਾਅਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਪੂਰੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਸਾਡਾ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਦਾ ਬਿੱਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਏ ਉਹ ਜ਼ੀਰੋ ਆਇਆ ਏ।
ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਦਿਹਾੜੀਦਾਰ ਬੰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਿੱਲ ਭਰਨਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਔਖਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਿੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਭਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਇਸ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਤੇ ਮਾਣ ਹੈ।
ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ 600 ਯੂਨਿਟ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ। 90% ਘਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਦਾ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ। ਅਸੀਂ ਭ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟਾਚਾਰ ਰੋਕਿਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਰੈਵਨਿਊ ਦੇ ਹੋਰ ਸਾਧਨ ਵਧਾਏ ਨੇ, ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਕਿਸਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਮਿਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ।
ਮੇਰਾ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਦਾ ਬਿੱਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ 1 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਵਾ ਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ 1 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਵੀ ਆਂਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਦ ਆਹ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਮਾਨ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਬਣੀ ਆ ਜੀ।
ਮੁੰਡਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਛੋਟਾ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਪਿਛਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਬਿੱਲ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਆਇਆ ਤਾਂ ਮਾਂ 3500 ਰੁਪਈਆ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਐਤਕੀ ਜ਼ੀਰੋ ਆਇਆ। ਮਾਫੇ ਐਸਾ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਪੂਰੇ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਬਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਏ।
India is uniquely placed today because of the fact that India has rolled out digital public infrastructure, connectivity cost is low and reliable, and UPI and India Stack has really played way in helping India achieve digital literacy at a large scale. The solutions that we are making are at scale. So therefore, what AI needs is applications which are used at scale, which generate more data to help improve these solutions.
Welcome back to this special episode of Startup Street. We're in conversation with Himanshu and Rohit from Kotak and Professor Srivardhini and Chintan talking about the Kotak BizLabs Accelerator program and how that is going to empower early revenue stage startups. Chintan, back to you on what we're seeing as a trend. It's not just metros, but increasingly tier 2, tier 3 cities, even beyond, emerging as some interesting hubs for innovation. Now, we read this initiative covers, regions across the 9 states that we talked about. Are you looking at more targeted support programs for these startups that are not from the metros, given the distinctive challenges that they face?
So we are present in Jaipur, we are present in Indore with incubation centers. We do a program in the Northeast, covering Assam, and later we'll be covering the other states in the Northeast. So there is, I think, a lot of focus. And in fact, that's where I think incubation is needed the most, right? See, the reason why incubators are needed is because there's a sort of a market failure and startups are unable to access, as Professor was talking about, whether it's mentors, whether it's angel investors, HNIs, networks, etc., who can support them to take them forward, right? Startups need a lot of support in the initial stages. There's high risk. And what we have seen is that, let's say there's a startup from Indore, what we call as startup flight and capital flight from tier 2 cities to the larger metros. So a startup from Indore may shift, let's say, a Bombay, I'm just taking indicative sort of names, and get funded through an angel network, which will have angels who are also from Indore, right? So it's there, in these cities, you have capital, you have mentors, you have startups, but there's not enough critical mass for the magic to start happening, and that's why incubators are needed. So that's exactly what we do, and that's one of the things we'll be doing as part of the program. In Indore, Jaipur, and Ahmedabad, we'll be doing these pitches as one of the stages of selection. where we'll be calling the local angels, HNIs, and I'm sure, as Rohit talked about, some of the Kotak Mahindra customers, etc., would also participate, so that the local ecosystem gets developed. And in fact, what we're doing is to kind of, over a period of time, make ourselves irrelevant, right? I mean, once the ecosystem gets built, we'll probably move to a smaller city.
But Himanshu, what I want to understand from you is what are the key metrics or the key milestones that you probably are going to track to measure the success of these startups? And also, how far do you handhold them? What happens when this program is ended?
Yeah, a good question. I think Rohit did mention one of the parameters that we would look at is how many of these companies that we took in were actually able to scale.
Yeah.
Now, the program is the acceleration part is about 6 odd months. So that's not a sufficient time to actually have a significant jump in the revenue, right?
Right.
But there are indicators which are available which will tell you whether the company is in the right direction or not. So I think the focus is going to be on measuring whether the company is on path to become sustainable, become a company which will be growth oriented, will have profitability, will generate jobs. So that's the broader metric, and we will be tracking this over a period of time. So while the acceleration support will be there for a brief amount of period, they obviously can go back to the incubator network and seek more help, and Kotak obviously would be there in case our help is required at any point of time.
Absolutely. And on that note, it's time for me to wrap up this conversation on Startup Street Special. Professor Srivardhini, thank you so much. Chintan, Rohit and Himanshu, thank you so much for joining us on Startup Street today. Wish you the very best with this program, and we'll definitely keep a track of all that's happening at the Accelerator program on Startup Street. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ritu.
Well, with that, it's a wrap from Ritu and me, Shruti, on this edition of Startup Street. More news and updates continue right here on CNBC TV18.
Presented by HSBC. Co-presented by Cognizant. Knowledge partner, the Udayti Foundation. Associate partner, Reliance Industries.
Whenever I had ice cream or cold water, I would experience a sharp shooting sensation. So I just kept ignoring it. Even my hot chai was giving me the same amount of discomfort. My dentist recommended Sensodyne. So now I can be completely carefree and sip my hot cup of tea. It really works.
When you talk about intergenerational, the study highlights that, out of every 3 families, there's only 1 family that has actually